drone. A scary, one-syllable word on the lips and minds of privacy advocates and lawmakers around the world, known for its democratizing ability to allow people and anyone to take photos or videos from the air. Whereas previously one would have to hire a big, noisy helicopter and get the right equipment and everything to go up into the air, now anyone can get into the market. Particularly me, I got in with the DJI Phantom Standard, starting at just $860 in Australia, which has a lot of the features of its two bigger brothers for a lot less of the cost. I picked up the DJI Phantom 3 Standard from the DJI online store, which ships from Taiwan and came to here in Melbourne in about a week, after eyeing it for months, thinking about the unique and stunning footage that I can get. It hasn't let me down with both its stabilised camera on the gimbal as well as its aerial capabilities. It's just been amazing. Coming in, it weighs 1,216 grams, it's 48.5 centimetres across, and that's a square, and it's about 20 centimetres tall. And it's easy enough to get flying straight out of the box, assuming you have a compatible mobile device. I've personally been using an iPhone 6, but you can use pretty much anything with Wi-Fi, Android or iOS, but it helps if you have GPS capabilities in that for some of the intelligent flight modes later on. Opening the box presents you with a bunch of documentation, including a quick start guide, guidelines on laws governing drone use, and some different colour stickers to put on your Phantom. Then, underneath the sturdy cardboard holding the Phantom in place within the box, you get the remote controller, the Phantom itself with no blades attached, a bag with 8 blades with 4 for replacement, a small accessory kit for replacing some of the components, a wall charger for charging the intelligent battery, and a white micro USB cable for charging the controller. Setup is easy, simply spinning on 2 of the blades in a clockwise direction and the other 2 in an anti-clockwise direction to attach them. From here, turn the Phantom and the controller on and use the DJI Go app on your mobile device to register the Phantom and download updates. Spend 10 minutes or so setting up your new Phantom and it's ready to fly. The Phantom 3 Standard looks exactly the same as the other Phantoms, except it has red stickers on the front 2 arms instead of silver or gold. As in the name, it has 4 propellers on each corner of the device, protruding on small, sturdy arms. It has 2 fairly thin legs on the left and right sides for landing on, and a silver camera sits in the middle on a vibration-proof gimbal mount. This mount is attached only through 2 rubber screws and the cables connecting the camera to the Phantom internals, which seems relatively stable for now, although reviews online note that this can come off. The landing legs are also rather thin and thus look like they'd break under a small amount of force, although this is just a hypothetical. Otherwise, the all-white body has a few LED lights built in for showing connection status and finding the drone in the dark. Alright, so open the app on your phone, the DJI Go app, and put your phone in this little mount thing. Just slides out. And connect to the Phantom Wi-Fi signal that it creates. Then you open the app and calibrate the actual drone. It's a pretty easy process. You just open the, it pops up and it says compass calibrate. You spin it around once like this, as demonstrated, and then it'll tell you to do the other orientation, and you go around like this. And yep. That's it. You just put it down, make sure there's nothing in your way, which there kind of is here, but we'll try not to crash anything into anything. Hit recording and press the takeoff button. Now controlling the Phantom's pretty easy. You just have to use the left stick for up and down, and also swivel around, and then use the right stick for forward and backwards and left and right. So we're here at this quarry here. I'm going to see if I can fly it around. You've got the wheel on the top left hand corner, which is for controlling the gimbal angle. That's pretty much it. So I recommend doing your first flight in a big open field or a park with not many trees or people around. If you accidentally push up on the wrong stick, you don't want to crash into anything or do anything bad. Let's see where I can go with this. Actually, flying the Phantom 3 Standard is a piece of cake. It has built-in sensors in conjunction with GPS to keep it relatively in the same place in the air. I can take my hands off the remote and the quadcopter and it'll literally just hover in the place, as you can see here. Tracking the drone in the air can be done in 2 different ways. You can either physically watch it like I am here, or you can watch the camera on the screen, which is, as you can see. It goes a fair way away. When you're first starting it, I recommend only just watching it straight in the air, and then you won't get the full range. But once you get more comfortable with it, you can watch the live video from your iPhone and actually see
where it is in the air, and then you don't have to worry about it, and you can kind of fly it into places that you can't physically see. But in Australia, I'm required by law to actually have physical eyes on my drone the whole time. Now, a good segue to using the camera to navigate your drone is how far you can actually do this with. As soon as the video feed drops out, you're unable to control your camera. And I found this range to be different in urban environments than it is in rural environments where there's not many Wi-Fi signals. The DJI Phantom 3 standard uses the 5.4 GHz Wi-Fi signal to connect to your drone, and so that gives you a range of about 500 meters. I've actually got over that in rural areas where there's been nothing apart from just a big farm. And then I've been able to go 120 meters in the air in those same environments, which is its both virtual and legal limit. And then in urban environments, I can go about 70 meters in the air before the screen starts to drop out and go black, and I get RC connection errors, and I can go about 100 meters in any direction before it drops out. Otherwise, you get the DJI Phantom 3 Advanced or Professional models, which use this Lightbridge technology, which is using a 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi signal, and that gets you about double the range, apparently. They have stronger antennas and everything. Now, one benefit of having GPS signal built in is you can use the return to home functionality. So if it goes out of range for more than 3 seconds, or you go on low battery, you can just get the drone to head back to you, which is a pretty nice feature. So it remembers exactly the GPS location where you took off, and if you're way, if it's way away, you can press a button and get it to return to home, or if it runs out of battery, or gets really low on battery, or runs out of signal for more than 3 seconds, it will start to head back to where it started from. This is pretty accurate to within about probably a 5 meter radius of where you took it off, and it's really handy, especially when you get scared it's going to fly off or whatever. You can just get it to come back to where you started. It also has 3 intelligent flight modes: waypoints mode, follow me mode, and radius mode. So waypoints mode, you go into a map and set a few different points and it loops around. Follow me mode is good, like if you're in a fast moving object like a car or something, it knows where you are using the GPS signal in your mobile device if you've got a phone or like a cellular enabled tablet. Otherwise, there is also circle mode, which I've found to be really good. You can set a point and set a radius and a speed, and it'll basically circle around until it runs out of battery, which is good. You don't actually have to hold the controller, and you can get some good aerials, and the camera actually tracks around on whatever the object is, so you don't have to make sure it's in the center of the frame or whatever. I'm a bit worried using these modes that it'll crash into trees and things. There's no object avoidance system with the Phantom 3, so you've just got to basically visually watch to make sure it doesn't crash into any trees or high buildings or power poles or whatever else could be up in the air. When it's in flight, the Phantom has very, very fast spinning propellers, which make a huge noise if you're within 30 meters of the Phantom, so it's not very discreet. And they also spin really fast. So I crashed into a bush in the city when I first got it, and it just tore up the bush. All the leaves were broken off, and it broke all the sticks and everything. So just be careful, don't fly that into anyone's eyes or face or head or whatever, it'll really hurt. In terms of laws, kind of on that same subject, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority in Australia has a couple of different rules in terms of flying your remotely piloted vehicle. You can't fly it within 30 metres of buildings, vehicles, or groups of people. You can't fly it over groups of people. You can't fly it within 5.5 kilometres of an airfield. And like I said before, you've always got to keep your eyes on the Phantom at all times. With all that in mind, pretty much anywhere is somewhere interesting to be able to fly over, because you've likely never seen it from that aerial perspective before. Some of my favourite locations have been over old buildings such as churches, the beach, and a winery. There's certainly no shortage of places to fly.
The camera on the standard tops out at 2704 by 1520, or slightly higher than Quad HD at 30 frames per second. It films at the same frame rate at 1920 by 1080, or you can increase that to 60 frames per second at 720p for slow motion. Filming at 2.7K allows you to crop the shot to zoom in if you're editing at 1080p, allowing you to select which specific part of the frame you want to show. In my case, I've been editing at 2560 by 1440 and simply upscaling my other footage to match it. I mostly upload to YouTube, and most people don't watch it at the full resolution, but they'll benefit from the higher bitrate offered by YouTube if you're uploading at that resolution. The app gives you a wide variety of options for adjusting the ISO, shutter speed, aperture, and color mode. Using these settings in auto generally gives good results that work well, especially when you don't want to fiddle with the video settings in the limited time you have in the air. With that said, I've changed the color mode to D-Log to get a flatter image which is easy to color grade later. You can also change the color mode to one of none, D-Cine-like, art, black and white, vivid, beach, dream, classic, and nostalgia. If I was to spend more time with the camera settings, I'd get an ND filter so I wasn't just on the lowest ISO and highest shutter speed and aperture in broad daylight. In contrast, low light performance isn't fantastic, with a lot of grain being at times the only thing visible in dark shots. It's able to pick up lights, but struggles in dark environments. But this can only be expected from a sensor of a similar size to the GoPro, although my Hero 3 Silver definitely works better. The problem is compounded by being way up in the air, far away from street lights and other sources of illumination, and it's unable to produce its own light. With all that in mind, I won't be using my Phantom at night anytime soon, as it's also very hard to control in the darkness. Overall, I'm happy with the ultra-wide 94-degree field of view you get, without any significant distortion on the left or right. The gimbal does a fantastic job of stabilising the camera, almost looking like it's on a big tall tripod. Sometimes when you're moving forward and the quadricopter also tilts forward, the gimbal tilts up to keep the camera on the horizon and the propellers come into your video. So the trick is to either fly in the other direction and reverse the footage, or just don't move at all. Otherwise, the videos it produces throughout the day are stunning and definitely add a wow factor to any production you're creating. All quadricopters suffer from the same problem at the moment: battery life. From the entry-level Phantom I purchased up to the multi-$1,000 Inspire 1, all have a battery life of under half an hour. Specifically with the Phantom 3 Standard, I can fly for about 25 minutes from a full battery until 0%. That said, I never actually fly the drone to 0% battery, as I'd be worrying about it falling out of the sky, and thus generally start navigating it back to where I am at about 20%, which is when I've set the warning to start. This amounts to about 17 to 19 minutes of flying time, which seems like less than it actually is. Charge times are a bit disappointing, especially if I'm itching to go out flying again. Using the included 57-watt charger, the battery takes about an hour and a half to charge. If I was to splash out in the 100-watt charger included with the Phantom 3 Professional, it would take about 67 minutes, but this is another $100. I'd also pick up another new battery, but at an outrageous $270 Australian, I could almost buy half a new Phantom, so that's not something I'll be buying anytime soon. I thought I should take a look at the concerns of privacy, because that's basically the main issue with quadricopter adoption these days. My first point to this is it's very loud at the moment. So the DJI Phantom Standard, I definitely wouldn't be able to fly into someone's house or anything. Makes a huge noise, you can hear it from 20 or 30 meters away. And then so if I get any close enough to get any real detail, whoever's being filmed or whatever is probably going to hear it. My second point to that is a lot of things can be used in a privacy invading way, and we don't prevent that. You can get long camera lenses, you can get little hidden cameras, little GoPros, and put them in places that are strange. So there are a lot of technologies that can be used maliciously, and I think the same is true with the DJI Phantom. I agree there's probably some privacy concerns with it, but me myself, I have no real interest in going into anyone's backyard or anything. I'm more just interested in looking at big, cool, over cliffs or in beaches or whatever. So I guess that's my answer to that question. The DJI Phantom 3 is a great entry into the ever-expanding and ever-growing remote piloted vehicles market, with its great camera, easy-to-fly controls, and ultimately relatively low price point compared to other models in the same range. But with that said, it is still pretty expensive, and so I was kind of worried whether it would actually be worth the money and a good investment. And even in the 3 weeks that I've had it, I've had so much fun. It's definitely worth it. I can tell you right now, it's worth the money. Those shots, those unique shots you can get, no one else has ever captured before from way up in the air of things, you'd never see them from that perspective, just makes it all worthwhile. And I love looking and going back on my computer and reviewing what I've filmed. It blows me away, and it's blown everyone away that I've shown. So with all that in mind, I wholeheartedly recommend the DJI Phantom 3 Standard. It's great range for what I do, great camera, and ultimately it's a good price point at the moment. I'm sure they'll still keep coming down, but if you're looking to get anything now, definitely get the DJI Phantom 3 Standard. Thanks for watching.